There are certain words that men use on women that just aren't insults, right? They're actually instructions. They don't even sound violent. They might not sound threatening, but they do serve the same purpose, which is to shut you up, shrink you down, and make you question your own reality. And the wild thing is how normalized this language is. You hear it in relationships, at work, online. Women get called bitter and hysterical, emotional, dramatic, naggy, crazy. These words are not about communication at all. They're actually a part of a system that keeps women quiet, compliant, and second-guessing everything they feel. It's control. And the moment that you see it, you can't unsee it. I'm Lisa Sonni. I'm a trauma-informed certified relationship coach, and I'm an expert on toxic and abusive relationships. I talk about the things that women are punished for naming. If you want the real truth about tactics that abusive men use, subscribe because you're not getting watered down anything here. Now, I'm going to start with the word that basically makes me the most personally pissed off, but I'm going to cover the top 5 words used against women and end with the hypocrisy that sends me into a flying rage. So watch till the end. Okay, bitter is the one that gets me every single time because men throw that word at women who dare to talk about what happened to them, right? You could be naming abuse, betrayal, harm, and the fastest way he can shut you down is to just shift everything and call your anger bitter. It's not justified anger. It's not grief, right? It's never heartbreak. It's bitterness, something spoiled, something defective, right? It's embarrassing. The message is, don't listen to her. She's just bitter. And you know what? There is no research anywhere showing that women are more bitter than men. But that word sticks to women because it's useful. It delegitimizes survivors and it protects men who don't want accountability. We know how abusive men hate that, right? It turns your pain into something completely irrational, right? Men don't just use these words to silence you. They actually use them to basically manage your reputation. Bitter isn't just about shutting you up. It's shaping how everyone else is supposed to see you. Because if he calls you bitter early enough or often enough, he's building a story around you before you ever even get to speak for yourself. That's why so many women say, nobody believed me. They weren't disbelieved because they lacked evidence. They were disbelieved because the smear campaign started way before the abuse was even named. He weaponizes your reputation so he never has to answer for anything that he does. It's strategic, right? He may never even have to use the word himself because now it's the go-to word, right? Social grooming, preemptive discrediting. As a content creator, I see this word used constantly by men. And listen, as a content creator, I actually feel I have to say this. It's used by women too. The ones who enable men, right? The new girlfriends, stepmoms, and abusers' moms. They're just using the language of misogynists. And this isn't new. Now, men have been using language against women for like thousands of years, right? Look at the word hysterical. The root of hysterical is hysteria, which actually means uterus. Women who expressed fear or anger or distress or disagreed with their husbands, they were considered medically, biologically unstable simply for being women. Fast forward, abusive men still use it the same way, right? Oh my God, you're hysterical. Calm down. You're overreacting. They're not describing your emotions. They're dismissing them. They're telling you that your feelings don't count. Your reactions are actually the problem and that they don't have to answer for any of the things that they did that caused those reactions in the first place. Once again, you're irrational. And notice this. Men always choose their timing, right? These words don't come out during calm moments. They come out when you're closest to the truth. If you're confronting him, right? You're drawing a line. Maybe you're calling him out or holding him accountable. When he's afraid that you're slipping out of his control, that's when he's going to call you hysterical and emotional and dramatic. This is conditioning. Your nervous system learns that every attempt to advocate for yourself is going to be punished or mocked or basically just reframed as she's so unstable. And because the timing is so consistent, that message sinks in fast. If I want peace, I have to stay small. This is behavioral training. And when hysterical starts to sound maybe too dramatic, right? Then you're emotional. Every woman knows that moment when a man labels her emotional and you can literally feel the conversation just shut down, right? Conversation over. Emotional means irrational. And it all leads back to irrational so that they can avoid accountability. Emotional is unreliable, right? He doesn't have to engage with anything that you're saying because you're just being ridiculous. But oh my God, when he's angry, That's not emotional. That's justified. That's stress. That's the natural reaction to when you upset a man, right? That's pressure. That's being pushed too far. Apparently, it's justified when he's emotional because men are logical, right? Please. Men's emotions get framed as human or some kind of normal reaction, right? That's just the inevitable thing. But women's emotions are unstable. This is about power. I'm not even at the most hypocritical part yet. I'm saving that for the end. And I bet you get as mad as I do when you see it spelled out. But here's the piece that I really want women to hear. Men weaponize calmness. They remain so calm, right? Well, treating your feelings like they're proof of your inadequacy. But a calm man isn't always a safe man. A lot of abusive men stay really calm. They enjoy watching you unravel and lose your mind. Their calm is a performance. It's really just manipulation. Look at me being reasonable, right? Look at her losing it. It's an image play. And narcissists in particular, it's all about image management, right? Optics. He's leveraging this cultural belief that calm is credible. But calmness in an abuser is literally sadism. Then there's nagging. This one pisses me off too. This is almost funny, right? But it's so predictable. Nagging is the word that men use when women ask them to do the bare minimum more than once. Can you pick the kids up? Can you stop yelling? Can you help in the house that you also live in? A man asking for what he needs, he's advocating. A woman asking, that's nagging, right? The double standard is actually so bold and so obvious that the only way it survives is because we've been conditioned to expect it. You know that this is the trope. You know this is what they say. Women apologize for asking for things. We soften our tone, over-explain, self-edit. But the moment that you stop doing that, you're a nag. The word exists literally to make you shut up about your needs because, hey, nobody wants to be a nag, right? And tone policing, that's a huge part of that. Abusive men aren't just listening to what you're saying, right? They are judging the tone that you say it in. Watch your tone. Don't talk to me like that. You sound aggressive. You're coming at me so angry. Tone is actually just another cage. Too soft, you're ignored. Too firm, you're punished. Too neutral, they accuse you of an attitude. There is no tone that's allowed because the goal isn't a calm conversation. It's friggin' obedience. It's to not have a conversation at all. The most strategic word abusive men use, it's crazy. This is the holy grail of like linguistic manipulation, okay? If he can call you crazy, he never has to take responsibility for anything. Crazy makes you the unreliable narrator of your own relationship, right? He gets to call you crazy. He rewrites history in real time. It's DARVO. It's why so many survivors say that the emotional abuse was worse than the physical abuse. Because once he convinces you that your perception is wrong, he owns the story. And I'm telling you, once he owns the story, he owns you. Now, those are the big five, but the list is longer and none of these words exist by accident. They all serve the same purpose, right? This is non-comprehensive vocabulary that men lean on to shame, silence, or discredit women. Watch for these words when you're talking to him, and honestly, some of your female friends too. And hey, comment which words were actually used against you the most, because I'm curious if you see what I see, okay? Bitter, crazy, hysterical, emotional, dramatic, a nag, clingy, jealous, attention-seeking, unstable, overreacting, too sensitive, aggressive, high maintenance, vindictive, messy, unlikable, cold, ungrateful, hard to handle, a handful, a problem, too much, not enough. These words are not even descriptive. They are social instruction. This is a manual for keeping women small. And here's the part that we don't want to talk about, right? We don't like talking about this. Women use these words too. I said it earlier, but I really want to expand on that. The patriarchy literally trains women to police each other, right? It divides women. You hear women saying, she's so dramatic, she's messy, she's jealous, she's bitter. None of this language comes from the truth. Women calling other women bitter, I have a physical reaction. You're using language of the patriarchy. You're using the language of the oppressor against ourselves. This all comes from a social system that rewards women for literally distancing themselves from other women, right? You want to be the cool girl, the chill wife. You want to be the one who never complains, never reacts, never challenges any man's behavior too strongly, right? You don't want to be one of those women, right? No. Patriarchy doesn't just silence women. Guys, it recruits us. It teaches us to enforce the rules on each other so men don't have to do all the labor. You know how men hate this kind of labor. And eventually, Women internalize these words, right? They start using them on themselves, right? I don't want to sound dramatic, or listen, maybe I'm overreacting. I don't want to seem too sensitive. I don't want to be a burden. This is the moment that the patriarchy is self-sustaining. You don't even need a man to silence you anymore. You silence yourself, right? That's brutal. And abusive men, they bank on it. They count on this. They rely on the part of you that second guesses everything, that wants to be fair, that doesn't want to be one of those women that gets abused, one of those women that doesn't get married, one of those women that dies alone with cats. That's the tragedy. The words live inside you. You could have left him already and it sticks. And the irony is unreal because men love using these labels when they're using them on women. But watch when you use one of those words back on a man, right? Meltdown when the mirror turns on them. You call a man emotional, ooh, suddenly you're disrespectful, right? Call him dramatic, the guy's going to write a dissertation. Call him bitter, he's going to demand an apology immediately, right? You call him clingy, he's going to accuse you of being cold. They invented the vocabulary and they can't handle it when it's turned around on them. He associates those words with being feminine, and that's just like the worst thing that a man could ever be, isn't it? This isn't just my opinion. Sociolinguists have been studying this for decades. Deborah Tannen has shown how language reinforces dominance and silence. Robin Lakoff wrote about women's credibility and how it gets undercut linguistically. Dr. Jennifer Freed explained why abusers depend on this exact kind of language to flip the narrative. She's the one who coined the term DARVO. Judith Baxter showed how women's authority is eroded through subtle conversation loops. Kate Mann's work makes it so clear. You've got to read her book. It's clear that misogyny is about enforcing women's role, right? Tone, emotional posture. It's all connected. And women have been saying this for decades at least. And here's where it hits home for women who are in an abusive relationship. This language isn't neutral. It's not random. They're grooming us. So when a man calls you emotional every time you cry from something that he did, he mocks your tears, you start to hold the tears in, right? That's when you start to cry alone in the bathroom or the car or the pantry. When a man calls you emotional every time you cry from something he did, you start to hold the tears in. You start to cry in the car, the pantry, the bathroom, right? He calls you naggy for asking him to stop hurting you. You just stop asking. When he calls you hysterical for pointing out a contradiction, you just stop pointing them out, right? He calls you crazy, you doubt yourself. He calls you bitter after everything he put you through. It's wild, but you start wondering, maybe you are. Maybe you're just holding on to anger. But all of this serves a purpose. Pay attention to this. This is the perfect setup for a trauma bond because the more he convinces you that your emotional reactions are the problem, the more you feel dependent on him to tell you what's real. He becomes the source of the truth, even when he's the source of the harm. Your nervous system learns to literally orient around staying reasonable, right? Calm, not dramatic, not bitter. Be likable, but not too likable. You don't want to be dismissed. We stop trusting our intuition, right? Women stop speaking up. We wait for the man to say something. You shrink yourself to survive him. And then you look back and you wonder how the hell you lost yourself. But I want to leave you with the point that hurts the most. This is the most hypocritical part that sends me into a rage. For women, there is an endless list of words to shame you, dismiss you, and reduce you down to just nothing but some irrational, crazy woman, right? For men, there is almost no vocabulary for the harm that they cause. Like literally think about this. There are dozens of labels for women who express emotion, right? But none for men who manipulate, lie, coerce, belittle, stonewall, emotionally abandon, psychologically break their partners down. The patriarchy built a dictionary for women's flaws, but it built silence around men's cruelty. That linguistic void literally protects men more than anything else. And if there's no word for what he's doing, how do you name it, right? You're going to struggle. You're going to hesitate to call it abuse. You're going to doubt yourself. The language was not built for you to understand your own reality. It was literally built to obscure his. And that's why I want women to notice these words. Not because the words themselves are evil, right? The words are the words, but because the pattern behind them is so intentional. And if I could ask a favor from women, please stop using these words about other women. Stop talking about people's exes like this. Oh, she's just bitter. Now send this to a woman who maybe talks like this and ask her to consider the bigger picture. Abusive men don't need to hit you to control you. They can control you in a million different ways. And one of them is through language, through tone, through subtle corrections, right? Through this constant drip of you're too much, you're imagining things, you're dramatic, you're sensitive, you're bitter. These words are not feedback. This is his strategy, guys. They want to keep you small so he can stay comfortable. Now, if you're watching this and realizing how often you've been shut down, dismissed, or minimized, and you want to get over how this shaped your confidence and your choices and just the way that you see yourself, book a private session with me. And I want you to comment and subscribe so that more women find this, because this is the kind of truth that they do not want us talking about.